you make the important point at the end of your book that being a gentleman is about standing your ground as a man, a father, a husband, and a citizen. What do you think are the ways in which men should be standing their ground but aren't? You point out that Christian colleges, for example, seem only too ready to find reasons to capitulate to the ideologies that are hostile to them. Where would you like to see more men standing their ground, and why?
Well, I think in just the institutions which which they are closest to in their lives. I don't think it means creating big political movements right away. I think men should become involved in their churches. I think they should they should join the men's groups, and more than just the men's ministries are often kind of toxic in the sense that you're expected to bewail your sins, which of course is a healthy thing to do, but there are larger principles involved. Sexual morality in churches need to stand up for the larger principles of the family in, for example, the divorce courts and so forth. So I think men need to reclaim the churches. I think that's one area. As you say, educational institutions. I was listening this week to reports about attacks on American parents in school board meetings, and this idea that American parents are classified as domestic terrorists if they get angry at the school board. Well, I noticed that most of the parents, so-called, were women, were mothers. I didn't see very many fathers involved in this at all, and I think fathers need to be involved in this, in the educational institutions, their schools that their children are involved in, the universities, and so forth. They need to become, they need to become aware of what's going on in their education of their children. I think there's areas like the media are being basically today rebuilt from scratch. The media has become so discredited that everybody has become a little journalist themselves. I think this is a very good thing. I mean, shows like this on the internet, men have it within their ability now to, and many of them are exploiting it, to use the media, the social media, the video media, to become journalists in their own right and bypass the I think it's extremely important, is getting the messages out to more than just the converted and more than just other men. So I think these are all areas where men need to become more active rather than less. The military is another one. I mean, there's only so much you can do in the military as far as rebelling against your senior superior officers. The military thrives on obedience, of course, and command structure. But there are ways, political avenues and public avenues by which we can restore the military to what it should be. And of course, it should be an institution of men. I mean, there's no two ways about it. I mean, it's madness to use the military as a forum for sexual radicalism, whether it's feminism or homosexualism or whatever, transgenderism. So all of these institutions, men need to become involved, and they need to look at the principles that I delineate in the book, and in their own homes and in their own I think women and children respect fathers who are firm. It doesn't mean you have to be dictatorial, but it does mean you have to be firm. I think women, there's a lot of truth in the cliche that women are oftentimes testing men. That women are ambivalent about. They seem to want to challenge men's authority, but they also want men who assert their authority, even to the point of standing up to themselves, to the women. And men, you look at the tough guy movies, not just of John Wayne, but of Humphrey Bogart, for example. That there was always that he didn't hesitate to tell a woman when she was being foolish, and these are all things. I mean, men have got to develop some backbone. They don't have much to lose at this point.
That's certainly true. The point you made about mothers on school boards is worth repeating, because in the UK, for example, when there were protests against the LGBTQ ideology in primary schools, it was mostly Muslim mothers who were lining the streets with placards saying that they weren't going to be tolerating it. There were some Muslim men out there too, but there were very few Christian men. And there are Christian reasons for opposing that kind of indoctrination in schools as well. But for it to be mainly Muslim women doing it shows an abdication of male duty, I think. And it's been said that civilizations rot from the head down like fish, and men need to take responsibility for that at the family level first, see where that leads, and then, as you say, extend the boundary outwards to the community and beyond that to the country.
I think your own stance there at Eton is certainly, of course, to be commended and to be emulated. I think the schools, the schools were one of the first institutions to be feminized and to be dominated by women. The public schools, especially the government schools. I actually have become a great believer in single sex education. I think it's we should be pushing for this more. I think a lot of women agree with this. That we need institutions specifically for men and for boys. Schools and at the university level, of which there are very few remaining. And I think men should not be hesitant about pushing for this, to restore this. I would like to see, I don't know how if there's a movement for that or not, but I think it's very important. And the English public schools, I mean, they've long been, dumped on by a lot of people, both right and left. I've done it myself, criticize the Ivy League and Oxbridge and the elite institutions of our society, and they should be criticized. They should be held to account. But they also, many times they do set a standard, which is often they did set a standard, which is often imitated by others, and even as I point out in the book, sometimes better observed by those outside the schools than the elite schools than those inside the elite school. So, these things I think are need to be, if we're going to have elite schools, and I think there's nothing wrong with it, but they need to show some strength and some backbone, and not peddle a lot of politically correct, virtue signaling.